Hello again. It's Jasmine Azure here. I've already recorded a reaction or analysis of Echoes of Wisdom still world trailer. But for some reason it's not uploading. But this is kind of a good thing, I guess, because I was watching it back because I was like, I guess I have to re-record this, so I wanted to like watch it back to make sure I make similar points again. And I noticed that the audio is kind of muffled, and so I think in the original one I had noise gate on instead of noise suppression. And now that I'm having the chance to re-record it, I'm doing it right. So yeah, hopefully I can find a way to get this to upload. I don't know why it's not uploading. It keeps telling me it's an internet thing, but it's not the internet, so I don't know why. Hopefully I can get this to upload somehow. Knowing my luck, probably not. I'll end up re-recording for no goddamn reason. But let's try this again. So let's get straight back into watching the trailer. So immediately you see a few things going on there actually. So you see how it starts with this small little rift here. My thought on this is that this is what came from the throne. You'll see in a second that the throne starts a rift, or a rift starts from the throne, and I think this is like how far that initial rift got until it started consuming the castle. But you see it has the small little rift first, and then it consumes the castle. And you see it actually consume a few people. So you see it consume these two guards here. I think I've mentioned that before in a different trailer. Just bring it up again, just make sure. And you see it like basically chasing after some civilians. And then immediately you see like the aura kind of emanating from the throne, this like shadowy, dangerous aura coming from the throne. I don't know if any of you played the game Control. It's a game called Control, but in that it uses words like objects of power and places of power, and because of that I'm going to use that kind of talking point here in this video. It makes me grateful that I played that game, because I wouldn't have like the words to describe what I'm talking about if I didn't. I wouldn't think to describe it like this. So you see how the rift is literally starting from the throne. So you can make the argument that the throne is an object of power, right? And again, as I said earlier, you see how early on the trailer there's like a small rift in the castle. Then it immediately expands out and engulfs the entire castle. So you can make the argument that the first rift started from Ganon's trident, which can be considered an object of power. Then this rift came from the throne, which is an object of power. But then the castle itself is a place of power, and that's the reason why it expanded out further. You know what I mean? So far, the initial rifts that we've seen so far tend to have objects / places of power in common. I don't know if that's going to be the origins of all the rifts, but so far we've seen a rift start from Ganon's trident, the throne, and then expand out from the throne, and like again from the initial play here, it does come from the throne initially, but it only does this much. And then because it's the castle, it's a place of power, it then expands outwards and covers the entire castle, as we see here. So that's what that makes me think of. It's objects of power and places of power. Another thing to point out here as well is the king, right? He's moving around and he still has color like this in this frame anyway. Still moving, still moving. Then these two Still, they move in. But you see, they kind of freeze up. And your one is already showing a loss of color. And he's starting to show a loss of color. But you see the difference already? Is that he's almost fully emerged. The king is almost fully emerged before he starts losing color. Right? And then she's only in it for like a bit. And she's only like partially in the rift. And she's already frozen and already losing color. He's fully emerged and was still moving a second ago and is only starting to lose color now. Same with him. He's technically already kind of frozen up a bit, and I don't know if he's lost color just yet, but we know he does. Yeah, see, like these two almost immediately lost their color, almost, and he at least held on to his color. The king at least held on to his color for a bit. I want to point that out. But they almost stop moving before the king himself does.
The land of Hyrule has been torn apart by mysterious rifts. In search of Link and the King of Hyrule, both of whom were stolen away, Princess Zelda must borrow the power of an ethereal creature called Tri. Together, they enter the tears that scar the land in order to save her kingdom. On her journey, Zelda will explore.
So immediately, not much really to talk about here. This guy here, he's kind of blurred out, but I was taking note of this. So that's a spear. So maybe this is one of the castle guards or something. That could be kind of like a helmet. When I first saw it, I thought it was a hat or something, but the spear makes me think this is probably like a helmet. So maybe this is one of the guards that we saw got absorbed a second ago. You know, the castle guards getting absorbed into the rifts. Then let me get rid of my little character for a second. See a little moblin here. Some houses. A shadow Lionel. And I love the light emanating from the castle, and more than likely the castle is going to be a dungeon, and more than likely going to be the last dungeon or one of the last dungeons. But like, you see two different light sources, by the way. There's a light in the center here, and there's light up in this tower. So yeah, just again pointing out. Let me put my little character back before I forget about her.
What lies within the rifts? This is the still world. Here, trees, fragments of land, people, and other items.
Just immediately want to talk about this thing. We'll see this again later on, I think, in the same trailer. You see how like it's just kind of floating around here, like it's a living blob of ink. You know what I mean? It's just floating around. We see later on something like this follows, like it's in the, not the still world, it's in Hyrule, and it follows Zelda. She like tries to weave and dodge it, and it follows her, and then it hits her, and then it spreads out into like 3 different shadow echoes, basically. So it's interesting to see it here in the still world, and it makes me think that it's going to act the same way that we've seen it do before, where it will, when Zelda gets close to it, it will hit her. And my assumption was that it would copy her echoes or something, because in the trailer that we saw, it hit Zelda, it became 2 of those bat creatures, and I think a slime or something. So like, I know, it just makes me think of the echoes. Just pointing that out. And then this woman here as well. We'll get to her in a second.
Here, trees, fragments of land, people, and other items that were swallowed up by the rifts float in the...
When people get pulled into the rifts, they kind of petrify and can't move anymore.
void. It's said they will
eventually fade away. So, as something to point out as well, is that this woman, we have seen her before. She was in one of the other trailers. Probably the first one, I think. But she was in one of the other trailers, and she was one of the first people we saw getting pulled into a trailer. She's a civilian, I'm going to go off as well and say. If we point out that she's in this trailer, Where is it? There, almost had it there until I pressed the wrong button.
Now it's up to Prince Playstyle to explain.
Stolen and have
There,
taken
there. Got her, found her. So this is your one that we see in the riffs in a second. That's definitely her from the other trailer. And then if I press play again,
and have taken
you see how almost instantly she starts losing her color and almost instantly freezes up. Whereas again, earlier on this trailer and this other trailer, the Still World trailer, the king is able to move for a bit and doesn't start losing his color until he's almost completely emerged. And same with Link, we see he's able to move for a bit as well. Like he was able to move enough to be able to pull out his bow and arrow and shoot the crystal that Zelda was trapped in. So it's making me think like it's kind of showing the difference between people. It's like she's a civilian, she almost instantly freezes, almost instantly loses her color. King of Hyrule is able to move around a bit and doesn't start freezing up / losing his color until he's almost completely emerged. And Link is almost the same, where he, is able to move around a bit enough to be able to pull out his bow and arrow. I'll get back to Link in a second though. I just wanted to point out that she almost immediately starts losing her color. And then it shows Link here, and it literally shows him having his bow and arrow out.
strange rifts have appeared, including Link.
Alright, if I go back to the beginning here, where Link, we really get to see this full sequence. One, we see the rift starting from the trident. Again, going back on the object of power thing, this is where it starts. And you can argue that, well, you can't really, that Ganon's trident is an object of power. It's his weapon. Of course, it's an object of power. It has to be. So, object of power here starts a rift, right? It starts from the trident, and then it spreads out, and then later on we see the throne start a rift and spread out, and then the castle itself becomes like a place of power. Like, this is an object of power starting a rift, the throne, object of power, starting a rift, and then the castle, a place of power, expanding the rift further. You know what I mean? So again, see the rift starting here, expanding out, and getting Link all caught up in it. He's able to move enough to pull out a bow and arrow, shoot the crystal. Now, the argument can be made here about his stillness. This stillness feels different to me than the others. It feels like he's just kind of like falling backwards. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like he's in water and he's just slowly sinking. You know what I mean? Like, he's like letting himself sink. That's how it comes across. But it also can be like, it doesn't feel like he froze the way other people have. The way they don't want to stop moving, but they do stop moving. This feels different, and I genuinely couldn't tell you if that's intentional or not, but it feels different. It feels less like he stopped moving because he didn't want to move anymore, and he stopped moving because he's kind of like holding his breath. Because in this instant, he's prioritizing Zelda. He's not trying to escape himself. He's prioritizing getting Zelda out of the crystal. So he pulls out his bow and arrow, shoots the crystal, and you kind of see like his eyes just kind of try and stay on her as much as possible. So it just, to me, it feels like what this is that he's kind of holding his breath. He's kind of watching to see if he succeeded in saving her. You know what I mean? It's like keeping his eye on her as long as possible. But so it feels less like he froze because he's being petrified, and more froze as kind of like holding his breath to be like, oh my god, did I save her? Did I do it? Did she escape? Did I succeed in saving her? It feels more like that he's kind of holding his breath, kind of watching to see, did he actually manage to break the crystal enough for her to be able to get out. I don't know why it feels different. You can argue that he still froze, right? The argument can be made, but I don't know why. But to me, it seems just a bit different from everybody else's. Like, everybody else just seems like they froze, they became instant statues. But with him, it feels different. And another thing to point out while I'm here is while everybody else lost their colour, including the king, it took the king a while to lose his colour, but he did eventually lose it. Link did not. Look at this. See a scrap of his hair and a bit of his hand and bow and arrow. And yet all of this is still in full colour. From beginning to end, while Link is in this rift, he does not lose his colour. He's in full colour from beginning to end. He's the only character so far that we've seen that hasn't lost his colour while being in the rift. Every other character we've seen so far immediately loses their colour. So, immediately implying Link is special, basically. And you can make the argument that what it is people of power, basically. It's showing the difference between different types of people. That woman is clearly a civilian, so she almost instantly freezes, instantly loses her colour, and then with the king, he's able to move around for a bit. He's able to keep his colour for a good while, and he's only like when he's almost completely emerged does he start to lose his colour, but he does inevitably freeze and inevitably lose his colour. Whereas, and you can say the same for the advisors as well. They can move for a little while, but they still like lose their mobility and colour quicker than the king did. Whereas with Link, his freeze, putting freeze in quotations there, feels different from the others. I know it might just be me, but it feels different to me. And he doesn't lose his colour. That's the key point. He does not lose his colour the way everyone else has so far. So immediately showing us, just with like these details, how different these people are and how special Link is for his ability to be able to keep his colour and not like fade out of colours, lose his colours the way everybody else has as of yet. And as we get shown here, if they stay that way, they'll eventually fade away. And we know that she lost her colour and was immediately petrified. So does that mean that one implies that the king is also one of these people who will eventually fade away if he's here too long? But again, the other point is Link didn't lose his colour. So that immediately says, this is not what happened to Link. He did not freeze, he did not petrify, he did not lose his colour. By that I mean, he's probably in the still world, honestly, because that is, you know, where everybody else is in here. But he's not like this. He's not frozen in mid-air. He hasn't lost his colour. He's not like this. So he's in the still world, but this is not his fate. And again, we'll see that later on the trailer, but I think that's the explanation as to why he's different from everybody else. It's because they immediately lose their colour, they freeze, they petrify, and they will eventually fade away. And the king is in that boat as well. He will eventually fade away. Whereas Link, this is not what happened to him. So like, it's the little details that Nintendo has given us with just that. Just the fact that he didn't lose his colour the way everybody else did. It's the little details immediately giving off like, hey, Link is special, and that means that this is not his fate, this didn't happen to him. What happened to him instead then? You know what I mean? And again, in this trailer, we see what happens to him, because I've seen theories about what that is at the end, but I'll get to that when we get there. Okay?
Actually vanish completely. Exploring the farthest reaches of this world is no easy feat. To do so, Zelda will have to traverse eerie, floating terrain. Because the path is broken up, the echoes you've learned can come in handy.
That was the other thing as well. The trees. This, I remember thinking about this. I don't think I actually mentioned it in any of the other videos. Like, I remember talking about how it's cool that we're able to jump on the treetops. Like, that's really cool. It is. But I kept wondering, I don't think I said it out loud, but I was wondering why. Why are we allowed to do this thing now? You know, why are we allowed to jump across the trees? Like, usually trees are just obstacles to get in your way. A thing to, like, a solid thing to stop you from going further. But now you're able to jump across the treetops. You know what I mean? I was like, it's cool, but is there a reason for that? And I didn't think I would get an answer to that. I thought it would just be like this cool thing and didn't have to mean anything, and it wouldn't actually mean anything. But this right here is the reason why it means something. Because, like, Zelda being able to jump across like this, it's like jump, 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 jump. You know what I mean? Like, that's the reason why these had to become more than just obstacles. Because, like, in game development, you can create objects that are either just, like, they're solid, but you can't really do anything with them. Or that it's a whole thing. I think just making these a solid object would be enough for this. But again, usually in games, you're not allowed to, like, do this with the trees. They're just a thing to stop you, and that's that. But this is the reason why you're able to, like, jump across the treetops and all that sort of deal. It's that way when they're in the still world, they're not an obstacle to stop your way. They're a thing that you can jump on to keep going. So now trees are no longer an obstacle. They're part of your movement, which I think is cool. Just from, like, the game development type of thing. It's what Nintendo's been doing recently with Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and now here, like, things that are so normal in game development, they're kind of changing them up. Like, I remember in Tears of the Kingdom when we saw the bit where, like, when we saw, like, all the different elements that, like, Link could do now, like all his new little powers in Tears of the Kingdom, I just made you thinking that's what a game developer can do. That's when you're still in development of the game, you're able to do XYZ thing. They're basically giving the player, like, developer powers, basically. And this is, once again, like, throwing, like, game design out the verbal window and going, you know what, trees aren't an obstacle for you anymore. Now they're part of your traversal. I think the word is traversal. I don't know if I'm saying it right. But yeah, it's just another little way that they're kind of like, this isn't an obstacle to you anymore. You now have the power to use it in a different way than before.
To traverse eerie, floating terrain. Because the path is broken up, the echoes you've learned can come in handy. Forge your own way forward by creating...
I wonder, actually, this is just now something I'm thinking of. What happens if you actually try to climb down here? Would that be an instant death? That's actually funny to me. Like, I just see that, and I'm just now thinking, is that an instant death? Just, like, trying to climb down here, would that instantly kill you? Because, like, there's just a void down here, or is there, like, actually something here? I don't know. I'm just now thinking about that like, we didn't see Zelda here interact with it, so I'm just like, ooh. I want to interact with this when I get to the game. I want to see if this will kill me or if I'm allowed to interact with it or not. Because that would be funny if it did allow you to interact with it and all it is just you climb down into the void. It's like, oh, you died. It's like, oh, okay. Never mind. There was nothing there. That would be fun. They just let you make a mistake like that.
The path is broken up. The echoes you've learned can come in handy. Forge your own way forward by creating echoes to use as platforms to bridge the gaps.
We know all this already. Also, pointing out that we see a chest. Let me just...
platforms to bridge the gaps.
So, pointing out we see a chest, but while I was rewatching my recording, my initial recording of this, I noticed this thing. This, like, I don't even know what it could be. Like, is it a fruit? Is it a spider hanging off the edge? I don't know what this could be. But, like, if it's a fruit, it's a weird, dangerous looking fruit. It's a weird, dangerous looking fruit. It looks different from everything else here. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is. This little... I don't know. I can't really figure out what that is. Like, it looks like here, it's like leaves. But again, it looks different from these models. So I don't know what this is, if this is actually a thing or not. I just wanted to point it out. Because I noticed it for the first time when I was rewatching my recording. when I was watching my initial recording of this, and I was like, I didn't notice that before. I didn't take notice of it before. So I just want to make mention of it now because I don't know what that could be. I don't know if it's important. It's probably absolutely nothing, but I'm just going to mention it regardless.
As platforms to bridge the gaps. Massive dungeons can also be found
Dungeons have made a return.
in the still world. Zelda will use her wisdom and echo.
Obviously, we see the little shadow bats, because that's what they are, shadow bats. I remember thinking, oh, pretty purple color. And then I realized, oh, the shadow dudes.
To take on enemies and puzzles that stand in her way. Then confront challenging bosses who await her arrival. What to do, though? Overwhelm the boss with echoes? Or combine them to find unique ways around the situation? The strategy is yours to devise.
Yeah, so this moment, I remember when I was watching this, I was like, why are you lying down on a bed for? But you can kind of hear like a little sound effect. And if you notice, the little still world thingamajig here is covering the hearts, right? Is covering Zelda's health, is covering her hearts. So we don't see it, obviously, because of where this is positioned. They easily could have put it here and let us actually see her hearts, but they put it here specifically. So it makes me think they're covering the fact that her sleeping like this did actually recover her health, because you can hear the sound effect. You can hear like the heart replenishing sound effect. So that, because like when I initially saw this, I was like, that's a bit out there. Like, why are you suddenly sleeping in a boss battle? But the only explanation is, especially with that sound effect, is this recovered her health. So you're in the middle of battle, able to just lay down in bed, get fully restored your health, and then wake up and run around again in the middle of a boss battle. That's a bit overpowered, but you know, we'll see it in gameplay. That's I'd say that's gonna be fun, honestly. Just like distract your enemies with your echoes while you go sleep off in the corner, so that you stay healthy.
The still world can be accessed through
Another one of those blob things, those inky blob things. Bendy and the Ink Machine. That's what it makes me think of. And then more of these like sandfish. Ooh, and we see many of these gauges, the sword fighter gauges. You see them here.
rifts scattered across Hyrule. And
More
each
trees to jump across. And more gauges. Let me just look at the trees again, because I'm only noticing them now as well. Because whenever I saw
the
this...
still world can be accessed.
Oh!
The strategy is yours to
Hang on.
devise.
So like, give me a second. This, I just now realized there was a gauge right here. You see it's like starting here and it floats off screen. I just now noticed that there was an energy gauge here and it floats off screen.
Still world can be
Yeah, it floated off screen. I just now took note of
accessed
it.
through rifts scattered.
And then I'm just now taking note of this is all the trees as well. So these are all platforms that you can use to like jump across. So whenever I came to this part, I always like take a note of like the electric water. That I wasn't really paying attention to anything else. But yeah, I'm just noticing the trees, and given how they're lined up, you can use them to jump across. So again, the tree's been used for transversing your world, or this world, or both worlds, instead of them just being obstacles getting your way.
Scattered across Hyrule, and each entry point leads to a location.
Also, can we take note of the fact that these things, while they're in Hyrule, they're like fiery pillars that get in your way, but if you put like a stone on top, they can become like a platform to get like to a higher position and all that deal. But here, they look frozen. Like, they're not moving. Like, we see energy gauges, and they're moving probably. But, like, we don't see these move at all. These are frozen. So these are part of the petrification for some reason. These are also in a frozen state.
with its own defining features. On her adventure, Zelda must overcome dungeons within the rifts and the mysteries they
Again, lots of gauges on the screen as well.
hold.
What you call them? Energy gauges.
Without Link or the
That is so much fun. Just summoning like a little wind creature, like this little froggy wind dude. Just seeing him. That's fun. That's fun. I can tell that that's going to be like a favorite item of mine the second I get him. So hopefully we get him early enough. I'll just be throwing the wind creature at everything.
Hyrule's fate rests squarely in
Oh my god. I'm just now realizing
Without Link or the king,
how funny this next one is.
fate
You summon what essentially is an angular fish
squarely
to light up your way. That is actually cruel. Not cool, cruel. That poor fish, literally out of water, to be a light source for you. I'm just now realizing that. Oh my god.
in Zelda's hands.
Sword fighter form. Here we go. Yep. This scene. Also, this is not Link's sword from the first trailer. If you actually take notice in the first trailer, Link's sword is... See it? It has like two of these little bobbies here. Whereas here, it has only one. It's almost like the other one kind of unfurled. But like that's not his sword from the first one, unless it got damaged in some way, which maybe, because it does have like one little circular thing here. It just doesn't have the second one. So unless it get damaged, and so the first one is just been broken off, that's the only explanation as to why this looks different, but could be the same sword. Because like the only other difference I can see is that this is like a blue, this is like a grayish blue, whereas this one's like full on blue. But the difference is this one is like from a further away, and this one you're kind of close to it, honestly. So I'm just pointing out those differences, because my immediate thought was that it's Link's sword, but then like you see the difference of the lack of a second bauble here, and that the shade of blue seems to be different. And I was like, oh, it's not Link's sword. But you could kind of argue that the second bauble kind of broke off or something. So it could be Link's sword. It could still be Link's sword. Yeah. But we'll see now in a second.
When Zelda finds and picks up a mysterious sword, she takes on the sword fighter form.
And it just so
allowing her to
happens
attack directly.
that the sword fighter form looks exactly like Link, and that the only like Zelda characteristics here are the little circlet on her forehead. Just which all it really indicates is that she's Princess Zelda, or that she is a princess. Everything else is very Link. This is Link in spirit, basically. Oh, and also it's clearly a gameplay thing from Princess Peach Showtime, where she has different she had different forms. She had like sword fighter form and detective form and all these other forms. So this is clearly coming from that. I genuinely don't think there are going to be other forms other than the sword fighter one, because I don't see what you would need other forms for, because the sword one is the only one that makes sense. The only other one I could maybe think of would be like a swimming form, but that also doesn't really make sense either, because her being able to dive could be used as an item. She could get an item and that could help her dive. Because the reason why I don't like a diving form to be... The reason why I don't want her to have a diving form specifically is because we know that there's the gauge. So if she runs out of energy while in diving form, while still underwater, is that like an instant game over? Will she drown? So either diving is going to be an item or it's going to be a form. That's the only other form I could think of that she could use. Because everything else is kind of covered by the echoes. You know what I mean? So I don't, like, if there are other forms, I can't really think of what other forms there could be. You know, like, maybe it's like a Majora's Mask type thing, or type of a deal where she could have, like, a Gerudo form. a Zora form, a Goron form, etc., etc. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know what benefit that would have, because again, the echoes seem to cover a lot of stuff. So, yeah. I think the sword form is really all she needs. I don't know if she's going to get more forms than that, but we'll see, I guess, when the game comes out. Like, maybe Nintendo will prove me wrong and show with their creativity that there are plenty of other forms that she could take on. Like, as I just said, like the Goron, the Zora, etc. forms. That's an idea that I literally just came up with at the top of my head just now. Like, literally just now. And it made me think of like Majora's Mask, how Link had the masks that allowed him to shift forms between a Goron and a Zora and etc. etc. So this might be like similar to that, because this form is very much an homage to Link. You know what I mean? So maybe there'll be something similar where she gets another item and she looks like a Goron now, or she looks like a Zora, or she looks like what you call it, a Gerudo woman. But as we've seen she has outfits, and she has a Gerudo outfit. So does she need a form when she has the outfit? You know what I mean? I don't know if that was clear, so I'm gonna repeat. Does she need a Goron or a Gerudo woman form if she has a Gerudo outfit? Right, outfit. That's the word I'm trying to clarify on.
She can forge ahead when her path is blocked.
But as this like little thing shows here, how the sword fighter form can come in handy. I don't know what other form she could have that could be as handy as this one. Because again, everything is kind of already been used by the echoes.
Enemies on her own.
Also, she gets the like Hylian shield for free now that you think about it. She picks up a sword and gains a fighter form and gets the Hylian shield for free.
However, she can only stay in sword fighter form
Little
for a
gauge.
short period of time.
Like, yeah, you see like how she runs out of energy and therefore is forced out of the form. If she has like a Zora form that allows her to like swim, is in to dive, because we know she can swim, but we don't know if she can dive. So she gets a Zora form to dive. What if she's like runs out of energy before she's like surfaces the water? Is that an instant death? Will she drown? You know what I mean? I can see that as gameplay, honestly. I can see it. But at the same time, like, it could easily just be an item.
When or where you choose to wield this power is up to you.
Like, Nintendo's given us a lot to do with this game. There's the echoes, there's bind, there's the form. So far, one form. She might have multiple forms.
Be sure to grab any you find.
It's handy that they come to you when you're nearby. Oh yeah, and then these things as well. So you have echoes, bind, which allows, you know, you either something to follow your movement or you to follow its movement. And then a sword fire form, and maybe multiple forms, and these items as well. So they're throwing everything at you, and they're going, yeah, do whatever you want. You have all these options.
Creations are called automatons, and they can be
It might get overwhelming, honestly.
They can
This one looks fun, though.
effects that differentiate
Just
them
blow
from
up. This one looks cool. I don't know why a singing machine was able to
break apart.
take care of a wolf, but it's still cool. It's interesting. Also, I like this character. This little NPC monster. I've never seen it before, I don't think. It's so funny. It's such like a Halloween decoration type thing where it's just like booga 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 booga. You know what I mean? Like it's just that little thing where it's just a slime on the
Be
ground.
careful. They'll break apart if they take too much damage.
Booga 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 booga. Booga booga booga.
Meet many other quirky
And then
characters during
all
your
of this.
travels, and there's no doubt they'll be of great help
Hang
to
on.
the princess.
Do you think? I mean, we've seen in the other trailer that like Zelda's able to jump from great heights and not experience any kind of health problems. Like she doesn't get injured from jumping from a good height.
You'll meet many other
Because I was just looking at this.
during your
I'm just looking at this and it immediately made me think, literally again, just now, made me think, is this like foreshadowing that Zelda's gonna get a, like this, like a little thing? It's not a glider, it's just a parachute. That's the word I'm looking for, a parachute. Is Zelda gonna get like a little parachute? But again, we've seen her like jump off a cliff onto like the ground below and experience no issue. So again, she doesn't need the glider or the parachute. So like I'm just now looking at it, I'm like, oh, maybe that's like showing that like Zelda can get that. But at the same time, she doesn't need it. So
And there's no doubt there'll be a
also, we've seen these ladies before. Again, in the other trailer. I was right. She is totally the chief of the Gerudo with her trident, sphere, and the hair. And this woman clearly must be a Gerudo as well. She seems like a type of sage or priestess or something. You know what I mean? Like, she's not like a guard like this woman. She's not the chief like this woman. She has some sort of other role. So it must be like something like that. Or like an advisor or something.
great help to the prince.
A red-haired Gerudo. Or Goron. A red-haired Goron. I don't think we've ever seen them have red hair before. I think that we've only ever seen them have white hair. I'm just saying that. Ooh, fireworks. I'm just now reading him saying fireworks. I haven't... It shows how much attention I've been paying. They're bursting with colour, spirit, and craftsmanship. Honestly. Ooh, cat. A pretty blue-eyed cat. A black, pretty blue-eyed cat. Nintendo, let us pet the cat. Let us pet the animals. Let us pet the kitty cats. Nintendo. And a great fairy. Also, let me turn off my little character for a second. Just to point out. This, I don't know why, but only one statue has a flower. It's probably absolutely nothing. It's just like a little detail I wanted to point out. But yeah, just one statue has a flower. And put my chibi back before I forget about her. She's a pretty looking fairy as well. I like that. She's pretty looking. And again, there's the blob. Again, the blob. And you can, if you actually watch it, you can see it follow her. Yeah, see? It followed her. It was here, she moved down here, and it moved after her. It followed her to hit her. And then you see it spread out into 2 bats and a, I don't know, a slime or something. So that it makes me think that like the fact that it followed her and hit her and that it became multiple different creatures makes me think it's like copying her echoes. And that it copies her echoes, and so this is kind of randomized, that she could easily have ended up having to fight a moblin. A shadow moblin, you know what I mean? Like, who knows? Also, she had a full gauge there a second ago. And like the little, yeah? That's such a Link sound effect as well. It's just like echoey. It's just so funny. And then see her skip across the treetops, and here she is, too hot, too cold. So maybe there's like going to be an item about that, or like a meal, or like food, or the smoothies that she's going to have that will like stop her from being too hot or too cold. Because that was the thing in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom as well, where it was either an item you could have to stop the cold or the heat, or you could eat something to make it that you were warm, or either warmer or colder. You know what I mean? So like, we'll see. And here again, we see her swimming, but we don't see her dive. We haven't seen her dive so far. Peekaboo! I find that so funny. She's basically playing peekaboo with a goblin, with a moblin, whatever they're called. I just like, just try being completely ignored by the enemy. Just Zelda popping out of the pot, and it just taking notice of her. I think that's so funny. Peekaboo. Oh my god. And then this, like this water. Oh, and also, I don't know if I need to remember to point this out as well. Singing frog. It was singing. It was a singing frog for a second there, and then you came too close and it got startled and it's gonna run away. But like, we see the water creature here. We see the size of it right now, and then it grows bigger. So maybe it's gonna be like, there's gonna be like a fire to put out, and you like throw this water slime at it. I know, because we've seen like a fire creature that has like a little candle wick, and you can use it to light things on fire. So this must be the opposite, where you can use it to put fires out. It's funny, it's cute as well that it can like absorb water and gain size because of it. Also, a little bird. And again, the little singing frog. It makes me think that the butterflies, the birds, and the singing frogs, there's gonna be like some sort of like side quest with them. You know, the way like a lot of games have like these like side quests where it's like the most recent ones being Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where you had to find all the seeds from the Forest of the Children, the whatever they're called. I forget their name right now. But like in other games, there was like one I'm thinking of right now is like Link Between Worlds, where you find like a squid or a giant octopus or whatever, and she tells you that she's missing 100 of her kids, and you have to go on like a fetch quest to find all of them, and you just like happen across them. You know what I mean? So like maybe that's what this is, or maybe like you have to get items from them, like you get like feathers from the birds, something from the frogs. You have to capture the butterflies. You know what I mean? Like they have to be something. You know, the butterflies, the birds, and the frogs. There has to be some sort of like side quest type of a deal going on with them.
On a journey to
and also there's a fairy. A butterfly, a bird, and a fairy. It's kind of nice to have the confirmation that we have fairies. And they're like the humanoid looking fairies as well, not the little balls of light. Just put a fairy in a bottle again.
Princess Zelda's
and then
wisdom
horse racing.
To undertaking this adventure.
And then
The Legend of Zelda: Echoes
a
of
boss.
Wisdom.
So
Available September 26th only on
I have
Nintendo
actually
Switch system.
pre-ordered
Now on Nintendo eShop.
I've pre-ordered my my copy of Echoes of Wisdom today. So as soon as it's out, it should be delivered to me. So I should be able to play it day one. Okay? And then here we have Link. And that's the sword as well. Like, this is the same area where Zelda found the mysterious sword. You know what I mean? This is the same area. So clearly Zelda comes in here, meets corrupted Link, because that's what I think it is. Because I've seen people say, like, this is Dark Link, because, like, the red eyes and everything. But honestly, I think it's just straight up corrupted Link, because he didn't lose his color the way everybody else did. So something different had to happen to him compared to everybody else. But also, we've seen in other games with Zelda, where the thing that's coming to mind right now is Twilight Princess, where Zelda gets possessed. And so you have to fight possessed Zelda in order to, like, get to Ganon, basically. So clearly, you have to fight corrupted Link to get the sword, to get sword fighter form. You know what I mean? And there's a part of me that kind of wants this to be like a reoccurring thing. Because like, this feels... Because like, it's probably going to be a one-off, honestly. It's probably going to be like a one-off where you defeat him here somehow, you get the sword, you get the sword fire form, and then you don't see him again until like the end of the game, or until like he gets decorrupted or something. But I don't know, part of me wants this to be like a reoccurring thing. Like him to reoccurringly keep coming back to become a problem, a threat. You know what I mean? And like at the same time, because I remember in Tears of the Kingdom, with the fact that like Ganon had like a puppet Zelda, where he was using the puppet Zelda to kind of like mess with Zelda's reputation a little bit, and Link was the one that kind of saved her reputation by like not telling anyone. Like, part of me was annoyed that he never told anyone like, hey, this is obviously not Zelda, there's an imposter running around. Like, he was literally friends with the newspaper crowd. He could have just said, hey, put out a story about there being an imposter Zelda. But at the same time, like, I can kind of see how that would be a bad idea. So I don't know, like, but you see like in the individual quests where like they're like, why did Princess Zelda lie to me? And then Link just kind of like covers for it and be like, oh, she's just testing your resolve, or she's it was a misunderstanding, you misunderstood her. You know what I mean? Like, he was kind of saving her reputation by like talking to the people and be like, hey, you're wrong, like it was a misunderstanding, or it was this, or it was that. Like, he didn't put it like a public announcement out or anything, but he talked to the people, individual people who were like, oh, Princess Zelda, this, that, the other. And then Link was like, oh, well, actually, it's a misunderstanding. So like, he was kind of like individually like saving her reputation. So like, maybe something similar can happen here, where corrupted Link starts like attacking people, you know, and then people will be confused as to why hero Link is now against them. And then like, you know, like, who knows? Like, the part of me just kind of wants this to be a reoccurring thing, honestly, and just to see NPC reactions, really, and see Zelda's reaction and so on. Like, just like interesting character development and story, you know what I mean? I don't know how or what they could do with it, because I'm not Nintendo. I don't know if they're going to do anything with it. I don't want to get my hopes up about this just for it to be this once-off occurrence and we don't see him again until the end of the game, where he gets decorrupted. You know what I mean? So like, a part of me wants this to be a reoccurring thing where we get to see him a few times. That this isn't just like a one and done sort of situation. Because one, that implies that either this happens in the middle of the game and Zelda has the Sword of Fire form for a while, or this is the end of the game and you get the Sword of Fire form for the last like 20 minutes or hour of the game. You know what I mean? So if this is in the middle, I want him to be a reoccurring thing, but probably not. Honestly, probably not. And he goes straight for the kill as well. Look at that. It immediately just jumps sky high and goes immediately for the kill. But that's straight up corrupted Link. Like, that's not Dark Link or anything. That's Link. That is him. He's just been corrupted by the rifts or whatever. Because something different had to happen to him in comparison to everybody else. Because he's the only guy he's the only person who didn't lose his color like everybody else. So it had to be something different. So I genuinely do believe that is Link. It's just he's been corrupted by the dark world, or should I say the still world, the rifts, so on, etc. But yeah, I already have my pre-order in, so I'm definitely going to be playing this starting day, first day. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. So I'll probably throw up a few gameplays of it as well. So subscribe for that. For the gameplay, inevitable gameplay of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom. Because yeah, so if you want to see me playing through Echoes of Wisdom when it's inevitably out, what is it? A week from now? 2 weeks from now? Literally 2 Thursdays from now, because it's Friday today when I'm recording this. So not next Thursday, the next Thursday. So next Thursday, the 26th, when this will be out. If I have the time, I'll play it on the day, or depending on when I get the game that day, because I might get it that morning and I might get it that evening, so we'll see. But I'll be playing it first thing. So subscribe if you want to see my gameplay of Echoes of Wisdom. See ya and good luck.